Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Hello my twitchy witchy girls. In my last fall crochet video, I stated that I was thinking of doing something Coraline themed and some of you said that I should, so here we are. I am going to Japan in less than 2 weeks, and because of that I haven't been able to work on my Halloween themed video like I intended, which does suck because I already purchased the yarn, I figured out all the designs, but it was a film recreations episode, so maybe I can do it when I get back, but hopefully Coraline can fill that Halloween void for you guys. There's a lot of different ideas I went through for this concept, and I really wanted to do pieces that incorporated a bunch of elements from the movie. Like if you were to ask what characteristic or element represents Coraline, you'd typically say stars from her iconic blue sweater or buttons, but what about her polka dot pajamas? Or the pathway that leads her to the other world? Other elements include black cats, dragonflies, the colors blue, purple, orange, chartreuse. There's even inspiration to be drawn from the other mother with her usual black and white outfits. Due to me not being able to do any large projects, I wanted to keep this video accessory themed, and then maybe later down the line I can do another Coraline themed video where I make really cool clothing pieces, like maybe a cardigan based on Coraline's pajamas or even a dress inspired by the other mother. For the accessory designs, I wanted to use those mentioned elements and create something really cool, but nothing is more iconic in Coraline than stars and buttons, so I decided to start with those in mind. Since I wanted to make a Coraline themed bag, I started there by incorporating a bit too many Coraline elements all in one, which is cool, but I personally wanted the bag to be more cohesive, so I tried to think of how I'd make a star bag. At first I had in mind to knit a bag and then add duplicate stitched stars onto it with buttons sewed on top and all over the place, which was cool, but I also wanted to have other options as well, so I went ahead and designed a crochet swirl bag that would have incorporated the colors from the otherworld pathway Coraline goes through. In case I didn't want to do that, I also made a granny square bag template with swirls and stars, which I ended up liking the most, so I went ahead and designed a bunch of different color options for that, which I don't think I can explain how long it took me to decide which one to go with. I genuinely loved all of them, so after a couple of days of being undecisive, I finally decided on the blue and purple option. I also designed another swirl bag, which made me officially decide to just do 2 Coraline themed bags. I also designed some scarves with stars, polka dots like Coraline's pajamas, and ended up deciding to do the polka dot scarf since it was different from what you'll usually see from Coraline themed pieces. And lastly, how can I not challenge myself to knit some Coraline gloves, even though I've never knitted gloves with fingers ever in my life? What's an EcoShun video without a challenge, right? I first started with the polka dot scarf, which at first I began to hand knit, which I was worried about since I didn't know if I had time to hand knit an entire scarf. But then I remembered I had a knitting machine that I usually use to make my scarves, so I scrapped the hand knitted one and went ahead and made it with the machine instead. This decision kind of faltered because while the scarf came out good, it wasn't as wide as I'd wanted it to be, and at first I thought I'd be okay with that, but then I went ahead and started on duplicating the polka dots on. I just wasn't happy with it, so I thought, what if I made a striped scarf with the colors of her gloves instead? I went back and forth between the decision to either knit a scarf based on the gloves or just knit the actual gloves. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the gloves first. I was originally thinking of doing a scarf with the glove colors, but I don't have enough of the green to do that. So here is all of the yarn that I'm gonna be using for the gloves. And if you can see, this is all the green I have left, and this is like a perfect amount to make 2 gloves, but if I was to make a scarf, this would not get me through, and I am trying not to buy any yarn that I don't need, so I'm just going to be using all of the yarn that I already have available. Also, I've never made knitted gloves before. I've made the fingerless gloves that you just work in a panel and then stitch together, but the ones with the fingers, I have no clue how to do that, so I'm going to be using a tutorial I found on YouTube, which I'll link in the description box below, and we're gonna hope for the best. Also, I'm going to show you my Coraline themed outfit. This sweater, or this cardigan, is from the brand Amano Knitwear. I bought it like last year when they were doing like a rollout for like, I think they had like 5 cardigans available, and I was on the website and I was like ready. I was gonna do Afterpay because this cardigan's very, very expensive. I bought the cardigan and then I was like, awesome. And I was like, wait a second. I didn't click Afterpay, so my account went kind of negative for this cardigan, but you know, it was worth it. It's really cute. I won't do that again. I was so surprised that like out of the 5 that they had, I got one. So I was like, oh my god, I got my dream cardigan. And yeah, unnecessary information. But I also have this turtleneck. I think I got this from like Old Navy, and then this skirt is from Depop. So that is my Coraline outfit. I did have my earrings on, but I took them out. They're right here. These earrings here, I got them from Etsy. I got started with the gloves by making a swatch with the yarn I was going to use, measured that and my hand circumference, and then after calculating how much I needed to cast on, which was 36, I went ahead and followed along with the knit gloves tutorial that is linked in the description box below. I was so nervous when starting the glove, like I don't know if you can see my focus in this clip, but I wanted to make sure I took my time and did everything correctly because I really wanted these gloves. I made a crochet version I think 2 years ago, and I really wanted some that looked exactly like the ones in the movie. I just finished doing the ribbing. I did 4 rows per color, so that's a total of 12 rows for the ribbing, which is 2 inches, and it looks really cute so far. The only thing is like I have a tiny bit of laddering, like it's not dramatic or anything. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it looks like there's nothing going on right here, but it's kind of bothering me. I'm not going to do anything though about it. Like I'm not going to start over. I'm just going to keep going and just make sure that I'm like tightening my grip when I'm changing the colors so that it won't ladder. Another thing I'm doing differently from the video is changing my needles. So here I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles here, and then after the ribbing I'm going to switch to 4.5 millimeter just so the ribbing isn't bigger than the glove. I personally don't like when that happens. Hopefully this doesn't mess up the pattern in any way, but I just had to do that. So yeah, wish me luck on the body. To make these gloves, you have to use the magic loop method in order to work in the round, but I personally don't enjoy doing the magic loop method. Even after getting used to it as I went along, I still just preferred to have a tiny cord and actually work in the round. But I know that because of how long the actual needles are, it eventually makes it difficult to work in the round without using either double pointed needles or the magic loop method. You guys, this is what I have so far. I am so proud of myself. Even though I'm using a tutorial, I am still so proud of myself. The only thing is like I kind of realizing too late that I put too much of the orange here. So now the pattern won't be exactly like Coraline's gloves, like with the exact stripes and everything, but that's not too much of a big deal. Like it doesn't have to be exact. Like you can tell like, oh, it's Coraline's glove, you know, it's not gonna be exactly as the picture. Do you guys like how this looks? Like if I make this up to like right here and then cast off and then make the thumb a little bit bigger and then cast off, would that be a big deal? Cause like I want to make the original gloves, but now that I'm thinking about it, I really do like when I have my fingers out so I can use my phone. If I have to pick something up without messing up the gloves, I can do that. But at the same time, I want to make the original gloves. But I feel like I would wear them more if they were fingerless gloves. I think I'm gonna make them fingerless gloves instead. I don't know how the person who made the gloves for the original movie made these in the tiny way that she did, because this is really easy, but it's very intricate at the same time. Like I really personally believe that, but beginners can do this. You just have to be really patient with yourself, because I've already made a couple mistakes and thankfully I caught them on so that I could go back and everything, but I'm gonna make these into fingerless gloves now. To turn them into fingerless gloves, all I did was after 23 rows of the color pattern, I attached my green yarn and worked one more row of only knit stitches in the round. Once that was done, I went ahead and worked 1 by 1 rib stitch in the round for a total of 5 rows. Once the 5 rows were done, I worked a tubular cast off, which is honestly my favorite method of casting off rib sections since it leaves it stretchy and the edging doesn't look off. I do think I should learn other casting off methods so it can look even better than this, but the time to learn will come when it does. For the thumb section, I attached my needles back onto it and worked 4 rows of ribbing on the thumb before doing the tubular cast off method there as well. After 5 hours, the first glove is officially complete, besides all of the ends that I have to weave in. I think the second one will be a lot faster because I know what I'm doing now, and I wrote down how many rows I did for the colors and everything, so I feel like it'll be a breeze. But I'm not gonna waste any time talking. I'm gonna go straight into it. But yeah, it looks really cute and I think it goes good with my cardigan. While I worked on the second glove, I decided to try to watch a bunch of autumn movies. So I started with Little Women, which was more for the winter time, I think. But wow, I actually really loved it. I felt a yearning for a family dynamic like the girls had, and I can see why it's a comfort film for people. I also watched The Craft and I enjoyed it, but the way the girls were acting sometimes got on my nerves. Like there were moments that made me go aw when they were spending time together, and then other moments like at the end of the movie where I just concluded that I don't have a favorite character because they were all just getting on my nerves at some point. I definitely watch it again though. It was really fun and it felt great fulfilling my need to watch a bunch of autumn spooky season movies. Later that night, I finished the second glove and finished my first Coraline themed project by weaving in all the ends. So right now I'm about to start my bags. I know I'd showed the designs earlier, but I just want to express how difficult it was for me to decide on which one to do. Especially with these 3 bags. Between this one, and this one, I was struggling so hard to choose which one I wanted to do because I didn't want to do all of them, even though I do at the same time, but I knew like I can't just keep making a whole bunch of the same bags unless maybe I'm selling them or giving them to people and stuff. So I was like, let me just choose one of them. And I spent like an hour going through like, well, maybe this one would be cool, but then this is more creative because I'm playing with the different colors and like it's inspired by Coraline, but it doesn't have to be exact. And then after all of that, I decided to go with this one. So I'm going to be making the granny square bag. So it's going to be 10 granny squares in total, 5 of the stars and then 5 of the swirls, and then a cute little striped strap. I was thinking that I should only do 1 bag, but I really want to try to do this bag based on the place that Coraline walks through to get to the other world. I think this would be pretty cool. We'll see how this comes out. This is going to be totally experimental, but I know I definitely want to start with this one first. My outfit for today is this celestial sweater and these pinstripe pants. I think it's really, really cute and I like it. This sweater is from Disturbia and the pants are thrifted from Depop. And I also have my swirl necklace, which is also from Depop, and my earrings are either Depop or Etsy. I'll have to look at my orders. And of course my nails are blue for Coraline. All right. I'm gonna get started now. I first got started with the star granny square, which I was able to work on pretty quickly since I've done it a few times in the past. I loved how the colors blended together, but was a bit unsure if it would work for the bag since it was pretty small. So I went ahead and started the spiral granny square to see how big that would be and if I would have to increase the size of the star granny square at all. So it took me about an hour and 30 minutes to do this one square because I kept messing up over and over again. And then I compared the 2 sizes, and at first this was larger than this, so I added another row with half double crochets. So there's 1 row of single crochet and then that's how it ends in the pattern that I was using. But then I added a row of half double crochet because I thought that would make it bigger. I think I might make another one with a 5.5mm hook instead of the 5mm that I'm using, and if that goes to the same size as this, then I'm going to redo this one. But if not, I'm just gonna go back to using the 5mm. I didn't think this would take this long, but I've never done a spiral granny square before, so it was just mainly a lot of counting, making sure everything's even. And even though I did make it even, it's still not even. Like in the last part, I didn't have the amount of stitches, and I was following the video, but I don't know, it's not working out for me. So I was just like, I'm just gonna make the squares and force them to get sewn together and hope that it looks good. I ended up figuring out why the first swirl stitch count wasn't as accurate to the pattern count, and that's just because I personally miscounted. But thankfully all the other swirl squares ended up perfect, and since I was able to finish those fairly quickly while watching Practical Magic, and by the way, it's not my favorite movie. I'm so sorry to all the Practical Magic fans out there, but it was funny how I attempted to guess where the story was going like 8 different times to only have to just give up and let the movie do what the movie wanted to do. Anyways, I immediately went into making the second bag design, which was the swirl design, since I was already making a bunch of swirls. The tutorial I used has tutorials from 1 to 4 different colors, so I think that was pretty convenient. Once both of the granny squares and the 2 big swirls were complete, I got started with both of the bag straps. For the swirl bag strap, I started with a chain of 8, then worked half double crochet for a total of 134 rows, making sure to do 2 rows per color. I had 3 different colors for the strap. For the granny square bag, I did the exact same thing but with only 2 colors, which were worked for 4 rows each. For the swirl bag, I used 2 stitch markers to mark where I wanted the opening of the bag to be, and then began to attach the straps by first attaching my yarn to both the bag and the strap and then chaining 1. I worked 3 half double crochets into that same stitch. Then after, worked a single crochet into the next stitch. In the stitch after that, I worked 4 half double crochets before working a slip stitch in the next stitch. And then repeating this around both sides of the straps to create a ruffle effect. I ended up watching Jacksepticeye play the Silent Hill 2 remake, which, by the way, I was scared to watch because I thought it was going to be really scary, but it just reminded me of The Last of Us 2, and now I want to play it so bad once I get back from Japan. That and Life is Strange 4 is on my wish list. After the straps were attached, I also added ruffles onto both sides of the top of the strap with the exact same method as before. For the granny square bag, I first started by sectioning off the squares to where they'd be attached, so 4 squares will be worked together for the front, and then another 4 will be worked for the back, and then 2 squares will be worked together for the bag flap. I turned the squares right side down and then attached all the squares together with my tapestry needle and yarn. Some of them were still uneven with the stitch count due to the star and the swirl counts being different, but I just took my time and stitched into some places twice if needed so that everything could fit evenly. Once all the panels were finished, I went ahead and attached the strap to the front and back panels the exact same way I did for the swirl bag by first adding 3 half double crochets into the first stitch, a slip stitch in the second, and then alternating between 4 half double crochets in one stitch and a slip stitch in the other. After the strap was attached, I attached the last panel with 2 squares to the top of the bag, making sure to work from the inside of the bag with my tapestry needle so the seam doesn't show. After that, I added ruffles to the bag flap using the purple color on the blue granny square so that it can contrast a bit. Once I reached the middle of the granny square, I attached my blue yarn since the next granny square is purple and I wanted that to contrast as well, and then chain 2 before working into the next granny square with the ruffle stitches. Once the bag was all finished up, it was time to decorate. This is always my favorite segment of making bags since I can add all of these fun materials and elements to make the bag more unique. I first started by sewing on a black button to the middle of the bag so that the bag flap can stay closed when needed. I bought these small black buttons from Joann's and initially wanted to place them all over the bag, but since the bag is dark and you can't really see the buttons too well on the darker colors, I only placed them on the middle of the stars. Plus, doing this made it seem like the stars have button eyes. Kinda sorta. I made this red and yellow star to represent the jumping mice and then attached it to the little keychain before adding that to the bag as well. Another decor piece I added was a dragonfly pin I got from Joann's, and I know it's not the exact color as Coraline's dragonfly pin, but I still think it works perfectly for the bag. I couldn't figure out where I wanted it to go exactly, so I just chose at random and this spot ended up being alright. Of course, I had to add some beads to the mix as well, so I took a long pin and added star beads and swirls, but I ended up adding too much to it to the point where my wire cutter wasn't able to do its job, so I had to remove some of the pins, but I still think the end result was pretty cute. And the last thing I added was 2 black ribbons just because, just because. But after that, the Granny Square Coraline bag was officially complete. All three of my Coraline themed pieces are finally done, and I'm actually really happy with how they turned out. The first piece I finished were the Coraline gloves. I originally wanted to make them look exactly how they did in the movie, but as you saw, I wanted to make them fingerless instead. And it's not because they would have been difficult to do the fingers or they would take longer, but just I realized that I really like fingerless gloves just so I can actually do things like use my phone. I can wear them while I crochet and stuff, and the fingertip parts just won't get in the way. I did change the look of the color scheme slightly, like especially for the thumb areas, it's just mainly all green instead of the orange that it has, just because like any other orange would have like blocked my whole thumb entirely. The only issue that I have with them, it's not even like that big of an issue, it's just a tiny bit too big for my hands. Like the ribbing is perfectly fine, it stretches out perfectly, and I really thought it wouldn't have because of the small needles that I used, but right here you can kind of see like it just like, and I would prefer them to be like slightly tighter. But I have Coraline gloves. I officially have 2 pairs now. The first pair I made in my film recreations, and then these knit versions. So I think eventually I'll make the actual ones, but for now I'm pretty satisfied. The next 2 pieces are the crochet bags. So this is what the first one came out to look like. I think I did a pretty good job with this one. Like I was a bit nervous to see how my design would translate well outside of Procreate, because sometimes like I'll design something and I'm like, okay, this will be really cute, and then I try it and I'm like, yeah, it wasn't cute at all. But this actually came out really cute. I love that I used the sparkly yarn for this and all of the extra decal, like this dragonfly pin I got from Joann's. And I originally wasn't going to place the buttons here, but there was like no other place on the bag that would have let them pop out than like right here on the stars, since they're silver. On the back I didn't add anything to it just because it's the part that's going to be touching my side the most when I wear it. And then I also made this cute little star right here that's reminiscent of the jumping mice's ball that they jump on, and also this little star swirl keychain that I made for it as well. But yeah, I really think this is really cute. I don't have time to line it at the moment, but I want to go to Joann's and see what kind of fabrics they have that would work perfectly for the bag, and I would love to use this when it's lined. I think this is my favorite in the entire video. I just think the swirls came out good, and I really like how this came out too. I was kind of nervous about this, but it turned out perfectly. And then the last piece I made is this swirl bag. I did this one trying to make the colors more accurate to the little portal that Coraline walks through to get to the other world, but I actually ended up liking this side a lot more, so I just made this the front of the bag. I didn't do anything spectacular with this bag, like I didn't decorate or anything, just because I couldn't think of anything to decorate it with. Like I have no idea. Like maybe I can crochet a dragonfly keychain, but in terms of putting something in the middle, I don't want to mess up the swirl or anything, so I've just left it blank. It's not my favorite, but at the same time I really like it, and I don't know how to explain that, so I'm just gonna leave that there. But anyway, I learned a lot when making these pieces. Usually I like to provide tutorials in my videos as I'm trying to make my designs and stuff, but a lot of the things that I made here I needed tutorials for myself, because I've never done a swirl before. I've never knitted gloves before, like actual gloves with a thumb hole and stuff, so I needed all the help I can get. So sorry if this isn't like a tutorial type of thing. I do have all of the tutorials I used linked in the description box below if you want to make any of these pieces. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite from the video. Thank you so much for watching, my twitchy witchy girls, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Before we go, I want to quickly say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that allows you to create your very own website for any of your creative endeavors, whether it be to start your own shop or to just show off your artistic portfolio. Squarespace offers numerous amounts of pre-made templates to get you started with your website and allows you to customize it to your heart's desire with their easy-to-use interface. If you're looking to create an online shop where you sell physical or even digital products, using their commerce tool allows you to have complete control of how everything operates. Squarespace also also features a customizable newsletter you can make to send to your customers whenever you have a sale or a promotion going on, which is a fast and easy way to keep them updated. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/ecoshun for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.